I want to ask you a very, very vital question, and I want you to think critically about it before you give me the answer. If you're being chased by a lion, how fast will you run? And if you're chasing a rodent in your room, how slow will you run? I want you to think carefully about this before you give me your answers. But have you really factored in that there are so many things that drives people in life? Have you really thought about that? There are so many factors that drives people, and I've narrowed it down to three major factors. The first one is anger or fear. Now, anger is more of an outward expression of something that happened, and the opposite, and fear rather, is an expression of something inside or inward. And anger and fear are more of like cousins with the same biological roots. But anger is being expressed outwardly, while fear is being expressed inwardly. Something is out of balance when someone is being driven by anger and also by fear. Whenever someone is being driven by anger or fear, it means that there's something there's the balance is there is no it's not in equilibrium. you know it's not the balance is tipped to one side. That's why they are being driven by anger or fear. It could be something that happened in their life in the past or in the present. It could be an injustice. It could be poverty. It could be humiliation. It could be it could be whatever. But that really created an imbalance in their lives that really triggers something. I bought a book today uh, that says, what is it called? Your Psychological Triggers. Very interesting book. I've not read it yet, but as I was thinking about it, I said there are so many psychological triggers that people really don't know about that really triggers them consciously and unconsciously. And anger and fear are part of these factors. Anger is a reaction to something outside, where fear is a reaction to something inside. Anger is like fire, it can fuel you or it can burn you down. That's true. Fear can be like an ice that freezes you. You know, anger, people who are driven by anger are very, very aggressive, very, very intensive, very, very intense. You know, but if you're not careful, it can tip off the balance and burn you down. So you have to put it, it's like a lion or a dog out of chain. You have to keep putting it under control to be in line. Now, anger is fixed and intense. Fear is subtle and dangerously gentle. That's true. That's true. They say people who are so gentle could be dangerous. Yeah, that's an assumption, am I right? But it could be true at times. Just an assumption. Okay, characteristics of those driven by anger. Let's deal with people who are driven by anger. They are often intense and they have urgent energy. People who are driven by anger are very, very aggressive. They like chasing things with, they are very, very passionate and they chase things with intensity. They are really focused and determined, but not always patient. Yes. People who are driven by anger are not always patient. They just want the results. Click, click, give me the result. Click, give me. Just give it to me. Fast lane, baby. Just let's go. Okay. They are more reactive, very, very reactive people. They tend to prove something to someone and at times to themselves. People who are driven by anger at times are trying to prove something to someone or to themselves because of the imbalance that's happened over time in their lives. Yeah, yeah. They burn out easily and may not hold on until something works out. That's true. People who are driven by anger easily give up. They easily throw in the towel. I've been chasing this thing far long enough. I'm tired. They easily give up because they do not have the patience to hold on. Now, let's go to the characteristics of those driven by fear. They are always paranoid and cautious. Are you sure this thing is gonna work? Are you? Uh, they are so fearful and scared in every situation. I'm like, "Ah, uh, are you sure this is gonna work out? How sure are you about this? They are always paranoid, always cautious, always. Their life is always, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? They are always, are you sure about this? Are you sure about that? Always paranoid. They overthink risk and often avoid taking big leaps. At times they might have an opportunity to step their life forward. I'm not sure it's gonna work out. I'm not. Let's not go there. Okay, fear can keep them safe, unlike those driven by anger. At times, fear could save them, unlike those who are driven by anger. They say, do not make a decision when you are angry. Neither should you make a decision when you are fearful. So, two of them are cousins from the same biological roots. They are detail oriented and very careful. That's true. People who are driven by fear are very, very detail oriented. They want to be sure before they take a step. That's one thing about them. Okay, let's go to the second factor that drives people. The second one is hunger. People who are driven by hunger are as focused as long as their belly is empty. That's true. As long as their stomach is empty, they are all in. But I want to ask you a question. Can you guess the opposite of hunger? I want you to give it a try, baby. Give it a shot, baby. The opposite of being hungry is being complacent. That's what it is. Complacency or stagnation, which is lack of drive or a sense of being settled. People who feel that they are satisfied, the belly is full, they have nothing to drive them. They are like, well, whatever, whatever, you know. But they relax. They are comfortable. That's why at times you see so many companies. They are doing so well. Once they get to a certain level, they buy. They give them an offer. They sell the company. They have a very good ideas, and once they sell the company, they relax. The person who bought the company from them scales it to astronomical level beyond their imagination. And they were like, oh, but I could have been the one I was who had this idea. But yes, you had the idea. But because your belly was full, you sold your ideas. And your idea or your ideas could have made you something bigger than you ever thought. But because you wanted your stomach to be full, all you cared was your belly. And this is mostly predominant among entrepreneurs, startups, because they are so focused about they are hungry. Yes, they are hungry and passionate, but they easily throw in the towel because someone offered them something that satisfies their belly. Okay, let's keep rolling, baby. Their drive is always evolving. it's all their drive is always evolving from one thing to the other. Today I want a phone. They get the phone. It gets to, okay, I want a car. They get the car. Okay, I want a house. They get the car. Okay, it's always evolving. It's not static. It's always dynamic. People who are hungry, their drive is always evolving. You know, once satisfied, they become complacent or pivot. Whenever they are satisfied, they either stagnate or they pivot to something else. Do you get my point? Okay, it's a steady flame of ambition, not really intense like those driven by anger. Okay, these people who are hungry, they are very very ambitious and it's steady. Unlike people who are driven by anger, these people are steady. They are very very steady, stable. They are not really stable, dynamically stable. Let's put it that way. They pivot from one thing to the other, but they are more steady than people driven by anger. If I hope my point gets across to what I mean. Okay, those driven by hunger are passively aggressive, while those driven by anger are more aggressive. Yes, people who are driven by hunger are passively aggressive. Not really aggressive, not literally passive, but passively aggressive. But people driven by anger are really aggressive. Man, let's go get it, do or die, let's go get it. But people who are hungry, once their stomach is full, they are aggressive until their stomach is full. They become passive. Yeah, baby, that's true. I'm coming for you. If they can't evolve, they slide and lose their drive. If they cannot evolve or they cannot pivot to the next thing, they lose their drive. So always there is always something that keeps driving them, or they lose the essence of being driven. I don't know if you get my point. If there is nothing next in their face driving them or pushing them to the next thing, they lose their drive. Man, you are talking to a dead horse. Baby, that's a dead horse. Go marry the horse. Okay, characteristics of those driven by hunger. They are very, very ambitious, focused, and goal oriented. That's true. They are very, very goal oriented. They are not always impulsive as those driven by anger, but can lose their patience if things take longer than expected. Remember people who are driven by anger, they do not have much patience. But these people, at least, they are not so impulsive. They can last longer than people who are driven by anger, as long as their stomach is not yet filled up. But once it's filled up, ooh, they either pivot, go to the next one, or have you really wondered people who has iPhone 8 wants to step up to iPhone 9. People who has iPhone 11 wants to move to iPhone 12. People who has iPhone 12 wants to move into iPhone 13. This is a consistent hunger that keeps driving them, making them pivot to the next one, to iPhone 17. The next one should be iPhone 25, right? But you get my point. There is always something that keeps them keep going. Now imagine if Apple stops bringing out new versions of of their mobile phone, you know what could be the next thing that would drive them. I want you to just, I hope you understand what I mean by people driven by hunger are always complacent when they are satisfied. Okay, that's just the point I want to make across there. Okay. um they thrive on small wins. Yes, people who are hungry, they try they thrive on small wins and victories that keep them moving forward. That's true. That's true. That's true. Okay, we keep rolling, baby. The third one, which is the last one, are people driven by love. Woo! This love is so conditional, baby. Yeah, baby. Okay, now, someone driven by love, they are usually driven internally. There is this internal drive. that moves them. Anger is driven by an external factor. Hunger is more driven by ambition or self-fulfillment, but those driven by love has an internal compass and may not realize it until later in life. So people who are driven by love are more driven internally. They have an internal compass that directs them, that moves them. At times they may not know it, but they just find that they don't, I can't just give up on this. I just love this. I can't just stop doing this. Do you understand? They are driven internally, not by an outward uh, occurrence or an imbalance in their lives, not by their stomach or their belly, but internally they are being driven, and it makes them, they are consistent over a very long period of time. Very, very consistent people. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk, he loves what he's doing. You can tell if you see someone who is driven by love, you can tell this person loves what he's doing. If they don't love it, now that's why at times you see people who are doing some job, they don't love it, but they just want the paycheck, you know. Now there are people who are doing some job, other people don't love it, but they have very good passion for it. They are very, very passionate about it. And you might be asking, this job is horrible, but why does this person really loves it? That's because they are being driven internally. Others are being driven by what they can get out of it, maybe by hunger or by anger, but this person is being driven by love or passion for it. Okay, okay. People driven by love sits in between the borderline of anger and hunger. They are not so extreme to the left or to the right. They are not so extreme to anger or so extreme to hunger. They are in between the line. They are not too aggressive like people who are driven by anger, nor passive like people driven by hunger. They are active. Now, I said that people driven by hunger are aggressively passive, while people who are driven by anger are aggressive. But people who are driven by love are active. They are always active, steady Eddie. They are always they are steady Eddie, always steady Eddie. They are always steady in their drive, in their pursuit. They're always steady. You can see the love in their passion, in their eyes, in their activities. You could tell that these people are really exception. They're exception. They really love what they are doing. You could tell it. You could tell that these people know there's something about these people that moves them, that drives them internally. Not because of what you pay them, what they'll get out of it, and all that. Not because of the fame and all that. No, 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 none of that. Okay, characteristics of those driven by love. They enjoy the process, not just the outcome. That's true. They enjoy the process. That's why, like I said earlier, that people who love the job, that people who just love the paycheck. They are emotionally attached to whatever drives them, which could at times be a bias. And if they do not realize it, they may not know when to pivot. At times, because they love what they are doing, and they may not know this is time for me to change direction. It could be a bias. They are patient. Yes, they are adaptable and steady over a long time. Yes, they are steady, they are patient, and they can adjust. When circumstances and situations arise, they can adjust, they can, they can readjust and be patient. They can hold on to the process because they love the process, not just the outcome. Okay, now in career paths, those driven by anger tend to have short-term career pathway. Those driven by hunger tend to have mid-term career pathway. Those driven by love tend to outlast the two. That's true. That's true. Now, among these people, who really are you? Are you someone who is driven by anger or hunger or love? Now, there's a twist here. One can flip from being driven by anger to hunger to love, but it's not always linear. It means that someone can start off being driven by anger and pivot to being driven by hunger and eventually love what they are doing. But it's not always that easy, okay? Three or two factors can drive you, you know, but you have to identify the leader. The three, the three factors, or two out of it, can be your drive, but you have to identify which one is actually driving you. You have to be honest with yourself. I love trading. I've lost millions, but I love it. Now I'm consistent on it. It was because of the love I have for it that kept me. If I was doing it because of the money, I wouldn't be consistent. I wouldn't get to the level where I am today. I do it because I love it. There's an internal compass in me that drives me towards it. No matter how rough or hard the process might be, I just love it. So you have to find something that you love that drives you towards a goal. Because if you're chasing it with anger or hunger, you are likely to give up along the road. Now, have you wondered that most people who are so braggadocious are mostly people who are being driven by anger and hunger? Most of our politicians are being driven by anger and hunger. Once they get what they are looking for, stomach infrastructure, once their stomach has all the infrastructures it needs, they don't care about you. So what really drives you? What really drives you? Well, listen, I love what I do. And do you really love what you do? Okay, excuse me. To make a change, you have to find out which one that is driving you. Which of the factors are which of the factor among the three is the one driving you? You have to identify that. You have to be honest with yourself. You want to change from being, if you're being driven by anger, maybe someone did something, maybe someone cajoled you or humiliated you or your family, and you want to use it as a point of interest to drive yourself to achieve a dream, it means indirectly the person is still controlling your life. Do you understand my point? Now, you should you should identify the factor that is driving you if you want to make a change. Self-awareness is vital. You have to come to realization that, okay, this is the factor that is really driving me, and you need to ask yourself, do I really want this factor to keep driving me, to keep moving me forward? If I'm being driven by anger, how far will I go? If I'm being driven by hunger, how far will I go? And if I'm being driven by love, how far will I go? Identify the stage you are in and the process needed to transcend to the next phase. You have to identify the process that will help you transcend from this phase to the next phase. To be honest, there was a time I was driven by anger, but I found out that it, I identified it on time, and I had to pivot. I said, no, this is not really what I want to do. I had to identify what I really loved, and I focused on it. No matter how difficult it was, I was steady on the process. And today, I love it, baby. Find out who has gone, find out who has gone through the process or through the phases that you want to go through, and ask them for help. Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak. It means you want to be strong. So look for mentors, people who has gone through that path and who can navigate you through. It's a very horrible approach for young people to not think about having a mentor that will take them through the phases in life. We don't know it all. You cannot know it all. But you need people who has gone through the process, has gone through that pathway to tell you this is how to go through this route. Walk through it. And this is where you success is predictable. It has footprints. You have to go through the process. Ask people who have gone through it. Ask questions. Don't think watching YouTube videos and reading thousands of books will help you, that will give you the experience of a mentor who has been there, done it for 50 years. My brother, go and ask questions. Stop. How far can sense be from you? How far can you be from common sense? Think about that. Now, the answer to the question, remember I told you to hold on to your answers. If you're being chased by a lion, how fast will you run? And if you're chasing a rodent in your room, how slow will you run? Now, that question doesn't really have an answer because the answer is circumstantial. The answer is based on circumstances. If you're being chased by a lion, your 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 survival instincts are being activated because you don't want to be a lunch or a dinner for the angry lion. Either the lion is hungry or angry at the same time, so you don't want to be a lunch. So you your survival instincts are activated. You want to run for your life. Now, but if you're chasing a rodent in your room, is how would we call it? Is controlled aggression. Yes, you can control your aggression. Now, do you really want to be always on survival instinct, to keep surviving on survival instinct? No, that's not ideal. Now, when I was doing my research, I found out that part of the survival instincts we have is fear, uncertainty, anger. These are some of the survival instincts we have, you know. And I wouldn't want to live my life being angry or chasing a dream because I'm angry or because of something or an imbalance in my life. I wouldn't want to live my life because I am hungry. It's good to be hungry, but it's good to know when hunger is not ideal. Because if you're hungry, you are buyable. I can buy you out. Because everybody who is hunger has a level they can check in, they can cash in. I can check it and ask you, what's your high? I can give you an offer. Yes, I can give you an offer. So it means that I can buy you out. But someone who is driven by love, man, you cannot put a price on that. Never, you can't. Because the love is bigger than whatever you could give them. It's bigger than the paycheck. Now, think about these three factors. I know there are lots of factors that drives people to success, but these are the major factors I've really identified that really drives people. And I'm being driven by love today. I love what I'm doing. I really love it. That is like whether you pay me or you don't pay me, I will keep doing it. I love it. What's yours? Now, I think this is the second time I'm asking people to like and share this video. That's just the best thing you could do for me to keep getting the best content out of me. You know, until next time, keep living an effective life. Find out what drives you and let it be love. About us.